Okay, guys, I'm going to move quick with this. With regard to Kamala Harris, I'm going to give my fair use disclosure now. The federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use and is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which does not infringe of copyright under 17 USC 107. Okay, now that we've gotten that out the way, I want to talk about Kamala Harris. Nyla did a good sleeper cell on Kamala Harris, so I will not be going into her politics today. Go to Nyla's video if you're interested in her politics. I believe she has that on her sleeper cell series here on YouTube. Today, I'm going to be talking about her words, and I'm going to be talking about her roots, her father, her mother, their influences, and what she was taught and how she was raised. Because there's going to be a sleight of hand where they're going to try to make her Black, right, for the purposes of these elections. And I want to be clear that she is not our representative. And I dare say she does not identify as Black. She recognizes the world identifies her as Black. And there's a difference, right? There is a difference between recognizing that you will be seen as Black and you'll move in the world as Black and having a personal identification of Black. And I'm going to demonstrate how Kamala Harris is the former type of person. And I'm going to demonstrate that through her father's words, through her words, and through her lineage and her history and where her parents came from and how they identified themselves. I think this is critical, right? This is critical because of the fact that we embrace people who are very racially ambiguous as Black. They're often used to trick us, and we are often easily tricked by somebody who has a little bit of pigment, a little bit of melanin to their skin, and we get confused. So I'm going to go ahead, share my screen with you guys, and we're just going to get started in this really quick. I'm also going to be talking about her political strategy, and mark my words, it's going to utilize one of her Howard University, because that's where she graduated from. It's going to utilize one of Howard University's greatest assets, which is a Black man who puts out a lot of trash Black television media programming. So we're going to talk about that too. So let me share my screen with you. Let's go first to her well, first, let's get this out the way because YouTube is forever playing with me. So this is for you, YouTube. See my fair use thing before we even get into this because I'm tired of YouTube messing with me. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. Let's go first to her. Let's go play by play through her 2020 presidential bid, okay? Let's have a look at that first. And we'll stop, do commentary, and then we're going to look at her parents and what kind of stock of people she's from.
Mr. President, that's the president of the Howard University Student Council.
So the president of the Howard University Student Council is there. And so you guys will understand why I'm going to go to Howard University, and I'm going to be talking about one of their top donors who will for sure be used to push Kamala Harris's campaign to the Black community.
You, sir. All right. Greetings, everyone. Thank you for joining us here at my alma mater, Howard University. Some people are asking, why are you bringing everyone together here? And it is because Howard University.
And again, mind you, she's at Howard University now. So this is important because Howard University, one of their biggest financial contributors, he contributes over $1 million. Just this past year, over $1 million to Howard University. One of their biggest financial contributors is a Black man who owns a lot of Black media outlets. And we're going to go through which ones those are. And I won't be surprised if we see her face plastered all over them.
University is one of the most important aspects of my life. and it is where I first ran for my first elected office, which was freshman class representative of the Liberal Arts Student Council at Howard University. So this is where it all began. And with that, thanks for joining us. I'm happy to take any questions. And I'll let Lily's going to be the bad guy and decide who gets.
Question for you on transgender rights.
Yes.
Progressives have expressed concern about your role as California Attorney General and defending the California Department of Corrections, and seem to deny gender reassignment surgery for 2 transgender inmates. How would you address those concerns?
So I was, as you are rightly pointing out, the Attorney General of California for 2 terms, and I had a host of clients that I was obligated to defend and represent, and I couldn't fire my clients. And there were, unfortunately, situations that occurred where my clients took positions that were contrary to my beliefs, and it was an office of a lot of people who would do the work on a daily basis. And do I wish that sometimes they would have personally consulted me before they wrote the things that they wrote? Yes, I do. But the bottom line is the buck stops with me, and I take full responsibility for what my office did. But on that issue, I will tell you, I vehemently disagree, and in fact worked behind the scenes to ensure that the Department of Corrections would allow transitioning inmates to receive the medical attention that they required, they needed, and deserved.
Should they have access to gender reassignment surgery?
I believe that we are at a point where we have got to stop vilifying people based on sexual orientation, and we've got to understand that when we are talking about, in particular, the transgender community, for too long they've been the subject of bias and, frankly, a lack of understanding about their circumstance and their physical needs in addition to any other needs they have. And it's about time that we have a better understanding of that. So.
Senator Harris, I was wondering if you could address your position on Syria and the president's recent actions there. If you were in the White House, how would you be handling that situation differently, and what are your concerns for the people that are there now?
Well, my concern is that there have been human rights abuses that have taken place there. My concern is that we cannot conduct our foreign policy through tweets. My concern is that when we make decisions about what we will do in terms of our military presence, much less our diplomatic priorities, that we do that in a way that will involve consultation with our military leaders, in a way that will involve some kind of consultation or at least outreach to our allies around the globe, and that when we then make those decisions, the American public can have a better sense of confidence that it is the right decision. So as much as anything, I'm concerned with the process by which the president went about doing what he has done in Syria. Hi, Ed.
Thanks for doing this. You're here, your alma mater. You're doing this on Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Okay, so now we're going to go into Blackness, right? And she's going to make a few comments on Blackness, or I should say avoid a few comments about Blackness. And after she does her biggest aversion, that's when we're going to cut this short, and we're going to get into her family roots, and we're going to discuss why it is she aligns herself with Blackness when it suits her, and she disaligns herself, right, with Blackness when it's not beneficial to her. And that I believe that it's safe to say she doesn't truly identify as Black, but she recognizes that we identify her as Black. We as in everybody else, Black people, white people, everybody walking around. And she's learned to tote this line. So we're getting into that part of her rhetoric.
Some of your colleagues who are either thinking about doing this or exploring it for appearing at MLK events across the country. I'm just curious, Black voters didn't turn out in the kind of numbers that they did in 2016 as they did back in 2008. What does your party need to do differently in 2020 to ensure that they show up? Okay,
so let's be clear on the question. MLK Day, she's choosing to present, right? On MLK Day, she's making this choice. She's pulling a Black card. Now she's being asked a direct question about Black voters and only Black voters. And watch what she does with the question.
Well, for all voters, we've got...
So first of all, for all voters. She's not even going to address Black people. Watch it.
...to reach out to folks. We've got to go where they are, understand who they are. We have to listen as much as we talk, and that is certainly what I intend to do as a candidate for the President of the United States. It is my full intention to travel this country and to sit in living rooms and to listen to families and let them express their concerns and their needs, and understand that when we take on these positions, it is about representing all of the people of the country. And we must understand that based on where they are, be it geographic region, be it gender or race or ethnicity, there may be a diversity of issues and concerns, and we should be in tune to those issues and concerns. And fundamentally, we also should understand that the vast majority of us have so much more in common than what separates us. And so I say that to say what I know to be true, which is when people wake up in the middle of the night, be it a mom in Compton or a mom in Kentucky, she's waking up having the same concerns about how she's going to be able to raise those babies.
Okay, so apparently a mom in Compton and a mom in Kentucky, these being obviously a black and a white mom. So first of all, she's dodged the question. She was asked to address black voters. The first thing out of her mind was all voters, right? First thing out of her mouth. And then she says a mom in Compton and a mom in Kentucky are facing the same problems, which we know to not be true, because a mom in Kentucky, a white mom in Kentucky, is not facing, you know, the fact that if her son marries, his wife is 8 times more likely to be widowed, right? A mom in Kentucky is not facing, a white mom in Kentucky is not facing a problem with her child being more likely to be arrested for some crime they didn't commit, in prison for a crime they didn't commit. A white mom in Kentucky, right, is not concerned about the same things as a mom in Compton. But she's pulling this sleight of hand, and she's pulling it for a reason. And so I want to get into that reasoning now and who Kamala Harris is. First of all, her campaign has control over how they're portraying her. You will see her listed as she is here. Kamala Harris becomes the first African-American to enter the 2020 race. And then just down here, you'll see LA Times, MSNBC pulls it that way. LA Times pulls it as Kamala Harris will be the first Indian American U.S. Senator. Okay. She's black when it suits her. She's Indian when it suits her. Notice that when she's asked a black issue, although she showed up at Howard University, a black college that she attended, on Martin Luther King's birthday, a black man's holiday, when she was asked about black people, she dodged the question and started talking about all people, right? But why did she do that? So I want to go first, before we look into how they're going to be pitching her, I want to go into a piece that her father wrote, okay? Her father's name is Donald J. Harris, and I'm going to go to a piece that her father wrote, and we're going to have a look at how he thinks, right? And who gave him his political views. And we never hear much about her mom, but we hear a whole lot about her father. So I want to just read a little piece from this. He said, as a child growing up in Jamaica, I often heard it said by my parents and family and friends, whatever it was, right? Remember where you come from is essentially it. To this day, I continue to retain deep social awareness and strong sense of identity, which that grassroots Jamaican philosophy fed in me. We're not going to hear much about being black. I'm going to just give you guys that caveat now. As a father, I naturally sought to develop the same sensibility in my 2 daughters. Born and bred in America, Kamala was first in line to have it planted. Maya came 2 years later and had the advantage of an older sibling as mentor. It is for them to say, truthfully now, not me, what, if anything, of value they carried from that early experience into adulthood. My one big regret is that they did not come to know very well, now peep it, right? The 2 most influential women in my life, Miss Chrissy and Miss Iris. This is in many ways a story about these 2 women and the heritage they gave us. This is Kamala Harris's father talking, and I want you to hear it from his mouth, the man that raised this woman, that purposefully implanted, he already said it, he purposely implanted certain ideals in his daughters. And so let's hear what her father says about his grandmothers. My roots go back within my lifetime to my paternal grandmother, Miss Chrissy, Christina Brown, descendant of Hamilton Brown, who is on record as a plantation slave owner and founder of Brownstown. And to my maternal grandmother, Miss Iris, farmer and educator from Anntown, and Inverness, ancestry unknown to me. So peep it. The one grandma is white, okay? The other grandma, her ancestry is unknown to him. Let's just start with identifying himself. His two most influential people in his life were women, his grandmothers. Let's talk first about Miss Chrissy. Miss Chrissy is a descendant of Hamilton Brown, who was a slave owner. And I just want to go to, I want to just go to exactly what he did. He founded Brownstown in Jamaica. He was a major attorney and resident slave owner in Jamaica. Okay? The founder of Brownstown in St. Anne, Jamaica, where a memorial has been recorded, sacred to the memory of Hamilton Brown, Esquire, native of the county Antrim, Ireland. He's Irish, who departed this life the 18th of September, 1843, in the 68th year of his age. He was the founder of this town, was 22 years one of the representatives for this parish in the Honorable House of Assembly. His name will long be cherished. Hamilton Brown was instrumental in the importing of several hundred laborers and their families from Ireland to Jamaica while he was a slave owner. Okay? While he was a slave owner. Let's be clear. So, one of the most influential women in his life was his grandmother, who was the descendant, right? The direct descendant. And I'm not talking long-time descendant, as in daughter, okay, of this slave owner. And let's see, I want to go back to what Kamala Harris's father says that he learned from his white grandmother, whose father was a slave owner. Okay? Let's see what he learned from her. Both of my grandmothers had the strongest influence on my early upbringing, not to exclude, of course, the influence of my dear mother. Miss Chrissy is the white grandma, right? Who's the daughter of the former slave master, right? Because he's dead. Who was the daughter of the slave master. Miss Chrissy was the disciplinarian. Surprise, surprise, right? The descendant, the grandma whose pappy was a slave owner, was the disciplinarian. That's not a surprise. And reserved a stern, in-look firm with the strap, but capable of the most endearing and genuine acts of love, affection, and care. So she strapped him, but she could love him at the same time. Miss Chrissy dressed up in her usual finery, standing in front of the home at Orange Hill, St. Anne Parish, where I spent my early years. She sparked my interest. Follow what he learned from this white woman, whose pappy was a slave owner and founder of Brownstown, right? Miss Chrissy sparked my interest in economics and politics. You follow it? Do you follow it? She sparked his interest in economics and politics. The woman whose pappy was a slave owner, whose pappy was an Irish man who owned slaves and founded Brownstown in Jamaica, is the woman who sparked his interest in economics and politics. Every single day he would stop by her store. So she played a huge, and he goes on and on and on and on and on and on about her. on and on and on and on about her. Okay? So with that said, let's go to Kamala Harris's mother. I want to show you a picture of Kamala Harris's mother, if I can. This is her mother right here. Can I make this bigger? Hold on, I'm going to try to take this picture. Good. And I can make it a little bit bigger for you guys. Let's take a look at her family, and then we're gonna look at what Kamala Harris said her mother taught her. Now, her mom is Indian. Indian as in from India, okay? Her mom is Indian, Indian as in from India. Kamala looks just like her mom, by the way. They are literally twins. And let's take a look at her father. This is her father, the one that said his biggest political influence was his white grandmother, whose pappy was a slave owner. Okay? And this is Kamala's daughter, because if you didn't know, this is Kamala's husband. That's Kamala and her husband right there. So let's go to what Kamala's mother told her about herself growing up. So right on one hand, we have a father who says that his two major influences were one grandma whose pappy was a slave owner. He spent every single day going by her store and learning from her. She was a disciplinarian. She hugely influenced him. And the other grandma, he doesn't even say she's Black. He says he doesn't know what her ancestry is. Isn't this interesting? He doesn't know what her ancestry is. That's where he goes with it. But let's listen to what Kamala Harris's mother told her. Let me just take a look at it. Kamala Harris's mother, they're calling her the female Barack Obama, but hold on, I have to click through all these and figure out where the heck I put everything. Kamala Harris's mother told her this, okay? Her mother told her, let me get to the quote. Let me make sure I'm on the right article. Oh, I don't think I am. Hold on. Oh, here we go. Okay. Kamala Harris's mother said this. And this is what Kamala Harris says of her own mother. My mother understood very well that she was raising two Black daughters. But watch the sleight of hand. Watch for it. Just wait 1 second for it, okay? My mother understood very well that she was raising two Black daughters. She knew that her adopted homeland would see Maya and me as Black girls. Why did her mother understand she was raising Black daughters? Because she knew that we would see them as Black. And so she raised them with that in mind. Now, mind you, Kamala's mother comes from India, and she comes from a place where there is a caste system of color. So in India, there is about 180 million, which is huge because India is a very poor country, cosmetic industry. And the typical way the advertising would go is that there would be a dark-skinned woman, right? And she would not be confident. She'd be really insecure, and then someone would suggest that she lightens her skin. And then everything in her whole life would just become better. So these are the two people that raised Kamala Harris, right? We have a father whose biggest influence on politics was a white grandmother whose pappy was a slave owner. We have a mother who comes from a country where being dark essentially means you will not be successful, and recognized that in America, her children would be viewed as Black. We have a woman who comes from a father who says his other grandmother, who played an influence on him, he doesn't know what her ancestry was. He won't even say she's Black. He just doesn't know. And then we have Kamala Harris, right? Kamala Harris, who makes her presidential announcement at a historically Black college, Howard University, on Martin Luther King's birthday, and then we watch her dodge a direct question about Black people. And she starts her answer with all people and saying that Black moms and white moms, they have the same problems. They have the same problems. This is what Kamala Harris claims. Now, I want to go back to Howard University because on Howard University's website, I'm looking at their highest donors are called the 1967 Society. These are people who donate $1 million or more to their university. And on this list is a man named Mr. Alfred C. Liggins III. Does anybody know who Alfred Liggins is in the chat? Can you tell me? Does anybody in the chat know who Alfred Liggins is? Yeses, nos, anybody? Alfred Liggins owns a company called Radio One, right? She did go to Howard, yes. That's why we're making the Howard connection. Yes, okay, so you guys don't know who Alfred Liggins is, but strangely, he makes a lot of programming for Black people. He does. This is him right there. We're having a look at him. And let's just talk about some of the shows, all right? Have you heard of the Tom Joyner morning show? A lot of these shows I haven't seen, y'all, because I don't watch TV. The Tom Joyner morning show, the Ricky Smiley morning show, the Russ Parr morning show, D.L. Hughley's show. You know those shows? You've never heard of any of those shows? Those are his. What about any of these? Hello Beautiful, Hip Hop Wired, Gossip, Madame Noir, Global Grind, News One. What is this? Cassius? Have you guys heard of any of those shows? Because we can keep going on. TV One. Isn't there a station called TV One or something like that with a bunch of Black shows? He owns that too. And so why am I making this connection, right? Yeah, he owns. He doesn't run. He owns. His company owns. And many more, right? And many, many more. We can't go through the whole list of everything he owns right now. Many, many more. So he's one of Howard's biggest contributors. And so why does this matter? Why am I bringing this up? Because here we have Kamala Harris, who goes to Howard University on Martin Luther King's birthday to make her presidential announcement, sidesteps a whole question about Black people completely, right? We see her being pitched as Indian in the news, as African American in the news, whatever suits the time. But we know for a fact that she was raised by a man whose biggest influence was a grandmother whose pappy was a slave owner. And he learned and took his stance on politics, which he passed on to his daughter from that woman, right? His Black grandmother, he won't even call her Black. He says he doesn't know what her ancestry is. And we know that Kamala Harris said that her mother recognized people would think she was Black. And so she raised her with that understanding. And we know that since Howard goes hard for Kamala, that's why she made her announcement there, that their biggest financial contributor, one of their top 3 financial contributors, is a Black man who has control over all the trash media for Black people. A whole station, TV1, I believe, is a whole station. Y'all know I don't watch TV, so correct me if I'm wrong. All of these radio shows, all of these television shows, the list is really endless. And he's going to be pushing the Kamala Harris agenda to our people because our people are his biggest contributors. And so I just wanted to ask that question. Is she our candidate? Is she even Black? Her father's not fully Black. We don't know what he is because he's talking about he doesn't even know what his grandparents are. Okay, so how can he know what his parents are? His biggest influence is the daughter of a slave owner. His biggest influence was the daughter of somebody that owned slaves. So here we have Kamala, who what at best might be 25% Black. At best, this woman is 25% Black. I'm telling you right here and now, I'm sitting here right here and now, very likely, as most of you, 15 to 25% white. Am I white? Because most African Americans are somewhere between 15 and 25% white. Are we white? You guys know I would hesitate to drag somebody I thought was Black in the open, but I'm going to drag her. But they're going to ride, if it's even 25%, right? Because we don't even know that her father is really half Black. Because this man has gone on record saying that his maternal grandmother, he doesn't know what she was. So here we have a woman who's got a little sprinkle of Black in her, but a lot of color to her face because her mom is from India. And she's going to be pushed to Black people on Black platforms, but her history and her lineage and her people don't identify themselves like that. The one Black person she has around her, maybe, part Black, her father, doesn't identify himself like that. He spent most of that article talking about his slave master great-grandfather and the daughter of that slave owner, his grandmother, who was his biggest influence politically. And I think that is something that we need to consider and not let this be a sleight of hand. See, this is why I said we have to make Blackness our standard. Because when we don't make Blackness our standard, we have people like Kamala Harris who are mostly non-Black, 75% or more not Black at all. No Black parents. This woman has not one Black parent. Because you guys know I don't consider mixed people Black. She has no Black parents. And a father who may be 50% Black, but may not. He may be less. Do you know what I mean? He's just got a little color to him. This woman is 25% or less Black. And they're going to pitch her to us like a Black woman. They're going to do it. even though she stood in a historically Black college on Martin Luther King Day and announced her presidency, this woman who is not Black, but is pretending to be Black when it suits her, completely sidestepped a question directly about Black people. And why did she do that? She did it because she's not Black. And she will only play the Black card because she knows that we will buy it. We will buy it hook, line, and sinker. People are walking around today talking about this woman is half Black. But she has no fully Black parents. She has no Black parents. She has at best a biracial father, at best. A half Black father, at best. And a non-Black mother. But based on her father's own word, he may not even be half Black. And we're going to go for the okie doke, right? We're going to go for the okie doke. And I wanted to touch on this. Like I said, if you guys are interested in the political stances she has taken, Nyla Says did a very comprehensive sleeper cell on her political stances, which is why I didn't touch her politics today, because I don't need to double down on what somebody already did correctly. But I want to touch on who she actually is. And I'm going to tell you right now, this woman's not even close to Black. This woman is about as Black as you are white. And we need to stop falling for it. Her skin color is a result of an Indian mother and perhaps a biracial father, or a father who was around, a little less than 50% Black. And this woman is walking around full on in her non-Blackness with a white husband and a white passing child, or essentially white, right? Bred completely out. Nothing at all to do with Blackness, period. Pretending to be Black. And we're just going to let this slide because we let everybody slide. We embrace everybody. It's like a problem. She is biracial passing. Kamala Harris is a woman trying to pass for biracial, but she is not 50% Black. She's maybe 25% Black, if that. But she's passing. And she's going to be pitched to Black people through her colleges. Howard University is one of their biggest donors because he owns a great deal of Black media. And so we need to be hip to the games. And so with that said, you guys, I'm going to get out of here. I will try to post Nyla's sleeper cell on Kamala that talks about her politics in the description box. But I want to be clear. This woman does not mentally identify as Black, and genetically she is not Black. Does she have some Black in her? Yes. But this woman is not biracial in any way, shape, or form. She is not biracial. She may be 25% Black, maybe, but it could be less based on what her father was saying. So we need to keep that in mind as they try to pose this woman as a Black woman. She's no more Black than you are white. And that's what's up. And I will talk to you guys a little bit later. Bye-bye.